George R. Martin will not finish The Winds of Winter.
Well, I mean, I'm working on Winds of Winter. I wish I'd been done 4 years ago, honestly, but I'm slow, and the book is very complex, and there are a lot of distractions. But I'm making progress and trying to eliminate as many distractions as I can, although it's hard because there's a lot of great distractions out there.
That was the confession none of us wanted to hear. It's been almost 15 years since A Dance with Dragons was published, and the wait has left many of us wondering if the end of A Song of Ice and Fire will ever come. The saga that began in 1996 gave us one of the richest and most complex worlds in modern fantasy. With a narrative full of depth and characters that broke the mould of classic fantasy, Martin redefined the genre, and in 2011, HBO's adaptation turned Game of Thrones into a cultural phenomenon. Political intrigue, memorable dialogues, and characters that feel as real as you and me. It was something new, exciting, and unforgettable, marking our lives forever. But there's something we didn't know back then, that George was just beginning a surprisingly long creative block. A personal battle against his own work that would change everything. The series would overtake the books, leaving millions of fans with an ending that not only divided opinions, but also raised more questions than answers. And even though years have passed since the series ended, the conclusion of the saga still feels like a distant dream. The question is, how did we get here? George R. Martin, the writer who gave us so much, but today symbolises the frustration of waiting, wasn't always this way. Born in 1948 into a working-class family, Martin discovered his love for fantasy at a young age. He spent his childhood writing stories for his friends and selling them for pennies. By the time he was 20, he had become a prolific writer, publishing science fiction and horror stories that earned him multiple Hugo and Nebula awards. He later transitioned to novels with Dying of the Light in 1977 and worked as a screenwriter in Hollywood, contributing to series like The Twilight Zone. During the 1980s and early 1990s, Martin faced rejection and uncertainty. His novel The Armageddon Rag was a commercial failure, leading him to step away from book writing for years. But, like many great creators, he found inspiration in failure. He decided to return to his roots and write a story without constraints, a story that mixed fantasy, history, and politics. Thus, A Song of Ice and Fire was born. His writing pace was impressive, 3 books in just 4 years. A Game of Thrones arrived in 1996, followed by A Clash of Kings in 1998, and A Storm of Swords in 2000. Everything pointed to this saga being his masterpiece, and indeed it was, as he continued to write at a blistering pace. So what happened? Perfectionism, ambition, and a world too vast even for its creator. In the years that followed, Martin began experiencing delays. 5 years for A Feast for Crows, and 6 for A Dance with Dragons. Fans understood that the complexity of Westeros required time, but what we didn't know was that HBO's success would change everything. When Game of Thrones debuted in 2011, Martin became a media figure. Between interviews, side projects, and his role as a consultant for the series, his focus on The Winds of Winter faded. In a 2020 interview, he admitted, "People know an ending, but not the ending." And therein lies the difference. For millions, the series finale felt rushed, but for Martin, his original vision remains intact, waiting to come to life in the pages we've yet to see. And what about perfectionism? According to Martin, working on such a vast world means facing constant dilemmas. On top of that, he sometimes becomes his own worst enemy. In a conversation with Diana Gabaldon, author of Outlander, he confessed, "Have you ever killed somebody off that you later realised that you needed? I just painted myself into a corner." This reflects the struggle of a writer trapped in the details. For Martin, every character and every decision must fit perfectly. But that pursuit of excellence has become his greatest obstacle. Even his anecdote with Stephen King is revealing.
"George, we're going to have to wrap this up pretty soon."
King, known for his discipline, told him that writing a few pages a day was enough to make progress. But Martin, caught up in his own mind, confessed that sometimes he writes a single sentence and discards it. How can a world so vast be completed under such pressure? Meanwhile, fans keep waiting. In 2019, Martin promised that The Winds of Winter would be longer than any of the previous books, but he also admitted that he had no clear deadline. And although he continues to write, time doesn't stop. At over 70 years old, Martin faces a dilemma that few authors can understand. Should he finish the saga for his fans, or enjoy the fruits of his success? Let's not forget that Martin has fought for this his entire life, only to achieve it in his old age. Yet, he's stated that he'll keep writing as long as he lives, although side projects, like House of the Dragon, also compete for his time and attention. In an interview, he admitted that he works best when he's not under pressure. But how can he avoid pressure when millions of people are waiting for his next move? Every fan, every question on social media, every theory circulating online constantly reminds him that he's being watched. At this point, The Winds of Winter is not just a book, it's a cultural event, a phenomenon that has grown beyond the author himself. It's almost impossible to shake off that weight, especially when he knows his work has been one of the most anticipated for over a decade. For Martin, late fame has been both a blessing and a curse. Let's not forget his iconic phrase in the acknowledgements of A Game of Thrones. There are lots of devils in the details. A book as long as this one has many devils, and you must be vigilant not to fall into their clutches. With these words, the epic saga of A Song of Ice and Fire began, and today those words carry more weight than ever. The devils he referred to in 1996 seem to have returned, this time stronger, challenging him to deliver the ending we all dream of, but few believe will ever come. This is where fans face a dilemma. Should we accept that Martin may never finish A Song of Ice and Fire, or should we continue demanding the ending he promised us? On the one hand, the wait has elevated the saga to an almost mythical status. A Song of Ice and Fire is more than a story. It's a cultural phenomenon that has transcended generations and borders. But it has also caused frustration. Memes, debates, criticism, and a constant feeling that something is missing, like a chapter that was never written. Persistent questions about whether Martin should write faster or even delegate the work to other authors keep emerging. But do we really want a rushed ending? Martin has made it clear. This is his story, and no one else can tell it. Every page, every decision, every unexpected twist carries his unique signature. Handing it off might result in more loss than gain for the fans. So what's left for us? We have Westeros. We have the hope that Martin will find the ending he so deeply desires. We have the theories, the debates, and the stories we continue to enjoy in the books already published. We want to see the end of the saga, of course, but we also need to accept that this cultural phenomenon might never have reached such heights without the ups and downs we've experienced. What about you? If you could choose between never having the HBO series but having the books finished, would you prefer it that way? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. In the end, what George R.R. Martin gave us is more than just a book series. He gave us a universe to get lost in, to debate and to imagine. And while Westeros may sometimes feel incomplete, the truth is that it has already left a mark that will never fade. The ending will come, maybe later rather than sooner, but it will come. Until then, all we can do is wait, because George R.R. Martin's legacy is already eternal. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe for more videos about Game of Thrones and the world of Westeros. See you in the next one.